Welcome to the Rogue Bogues basketball series. Myself, Andrew Bogut, and Pro. What's going on, man?
Bogues, still marooned in California. I feel like Tom Hanks on Castaway, except I got a lot better setup than he did.
You'll be surfing soon.
Oh yeah, the only problem is I don't want to dodge those harpoons in the fucking beach, man. So or people will start throwing buckets of water on me, think I'm gonna beach whale on the fucking beach. So you know.
But you were at the Pro Day, the NBA Pro Day. What was that, last week?
Yeah, so a few days ago. So what they did, Bogues, is after Chicago, after the pre-draft combine, so they put all the agencies can do their pro day in California, in Southern California, so they don't spread it across the country. So they had basically 130, 140 NBA GMs, executives, scouts, and coaches go and watch these like pro day workouts. And I watched a bunch of them that they had in Chicago, because you could either do them in Chicago or do them in LA. And I mean, it's a fucking, it's a necessary evil, but it's such a fucking like bullshit process, in my opinion. But yeah, so the agency I'm working for, we had our pro day. I ran one workout with a kid named Max Christie, 6'6" guard from Michigan State. And then I assisted on another one. They have like a 6'4" point guard named Ty Washington, who played at Kentucky. And then they had a couple other guys work out with their own trainers and stuff. So it's pretty cool setup. Like, you do it in your own gym, so it's not just one gym and rotate. It's like they had a drive to all these gyms, so you have to sort of sanction it through the NBA. So they schedule it so everybody has a chance to see all of them. And it was pretty cool. They have like I said, there was like 130 NBA people. Like, they had head coaches there. I saw Tom Thibodeau. I saw Wes Unseld Jr. was there. They had some NBA GM. Sam Presti was there. Chicago's there. Like, every team was represented, basically. So
are they doing the same kind of thing as Chicago, like all the testing and all that shit still, or is it just
no, they don't. No, so yeah, playing? So basically you go. Yeah, no, they don't even play. So they go out there. You got like an hour, like a 40-minute slot each guy, and they just work out. So you do any type of a training workout. Mostly trainers come out there. They got like 90 guys, like a fucking Gestapo or something, with like the same shirts on, screaming, hooting, hollering, fucking clapping on every dunk. And it's sort of like the N1 mixtape tour on fucking steroids. And I'm like, I told my interns, because I have like my own pros army out here. I said, first of all, any of you motherfuckers clap after any dunk, I'm going to fire you, hire you again, and fucking fire you again. And just, hey, look, it's not going to be like, usually it's just filled, Bogues, with guys, and look, trainers do what they do, but mostly they'll have their guys dunk 1-on-0 and do all this like, just like scripted shit where they're just dunking most of the time, and you don't really get a good idea, a good glimpse on the actual player, what they can do. So the workouts that I scripted for not only the player that I worked with, but the one I assisted with, were all like sort of game actions, get shots up, 1 dribble, 2 dribble pull up, and start getting some conditioning shooting, pick and roll, reads, things like that. So, basically like telling the player, look, this is what the NBA scouts want to see. They want to see your body. They want to see how fast you go. They want to see how you shoot the ball, how you do in these little actions deals, and how you respond to your coach that's working you out when they talk to you and correct you. So it was cool. Like, I thought Ty Washington was really good. He's competing with Dyson Daniels as one of the top point guards in the draft. And, I think the Max Christie kid's really good. Like, 6'6" athlete, could really shoot. I think he's sort of, he could be as good as a Kevin Martin was, like an all-star type. I probably compare him in between like a Kevin Martin sort of, Gary Trent Jr. type. He's not as strong as Trent Jr., but he's got good size. He can shoot, so it was good. It was cool. I just don't like those pro days because they're so fake and, like, it's so scripted, and the players are doing shit that they're never going to do in games. And like, it's just like all dunks and all this stuff. And sometimes the trainers have them do all these fucking moves and stuff, and the players look bad, like full court drills and things. Like, dude, all they want to do is like, you got to just sort of, you got to close it off and just let them do things that make the player look good, but actual things that people actually want to see. The problem is 99% of these trainers who work these pro days have never spent 10 seconds in the NBA. They don't know what people are looking for, so they just want to look like it's sort of like they think the pro day's for them. To showcase them. You know what I'm saying?
This is how I train guys. Look at this new drill I've designed. I have my guy doing it. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've seen that before, actually, where I've worked with people like that, where a scout comes in and they're doing different stuff than you usually do, and you're looking at them like, what are we doing? Like, we've never done this before. Why are you doing it today? You know, you're just like, what the fuck?
It was funny, Bogues, like so I try to loosen the guys up. So like as they're working out, they might be going a little too fast. So at the free throw line, I'll tell like one of my interns, say, hey, give me the fucking ball. I give it, like I sort of like wipe the sweat off of my shirt, and I would just like whisper to the player, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, slow the fuck down. I say, and step off the fucking free throw line after every shot. Give yourself some break. And then one of these guys, like we had a couple more drills scripted that we were going to do, but the workout was going so well. He looked at me, he goes, Mike, we doing one-on-one? I go, fuck no, we're not doing one-on-one. I said, hey, snake this last pick and roll, dunk this shit, and let's get the fuck out of here. And that's what he did. And I gave him the fucking like axe sign after the fucking dunk and sort of shut the whole workout down after that. But it was pretty fun, man. It's just, you know.
You caught Dyson Daniels too in a scrimmage?
Yeah, so in the same facility, Jordan Lawley is working out. He's sort of one of the trainers at one of the better trainers out in California. He's got Octagon's guys and he's got Dyson Daniels, and like we don't usually go to their workouts and they don't go to ours, but they sort of had their open run yesterday. And I watched Jordan Lawley's guys work, and Daniels was there. I was pretty impressed. I watched him. I saw him in a G League game earlier the year with the Ignite, but I didn't get a really good glimpse at him. And now I got the chance to see him in a few games play. He's pretty good, Bogues. He's like 6'6", strong, long-armed. Shot it okay. They say he's an inconsistent shooter. I could see that, but he made some shots. Really good passer, strong kid, could really pass. Decent finisher, good athlete, I thought. But, I could see the shooting and the ball handling he's going to get better at. But those things, once he gets drafted, I think he can get better at, Yeah,
he's a strong kid too for his size, his height. He's pretty athletic. So he'll be, one of those guys that could be a switch guy, could be a guy that goes, when they go small ball, it could potentially slot into the four like we're seeing Finney Smith did with Dallas, one of those wiry guys. And, there's hopefully, as we've said the last couple of weeks, he's moving, he's sneaking up into that top 10, top 5, hopefully. So let's hope that happens for Australia. But let's get rolling with the conference finals, the Mavs Warriors. You got this one wrong. I got one right finally. So I thought the curse was on me, but you were 4-2. I was 4-2 Warriors. You were 4-2 Mavs. It ended up being 4-1. Pretty one-sided series for the most part. Dallas probably, they lost the series in game 2, in my opinion. I think that they should have won that game, not comfortably, but they were up by, they got it out to 20 at one point, I think. Should have won that game comfortably, then going home, and then you make it a series that potentially goes 6 or 7. But I think once they lost that, the gas was out of the tank, in my opinion. I just don't think they had much left. But Steph won the Magic Johnson Western Conference Finals MVP. There's more and more awards coming out, but he was 24, 7, and 6. He was solid. Whenever they needed some key buckets, it was him for most of that series. I was really impressed with Andrew Wiggins, pro. I don't know what your thoughts are, but he did get knocked a lot early in the playoffs. Well, he's not playing that well, this, that, and his second half of the season wasn't great, but he was 18, 7, and 3 in this series. Really good defensively. I mean, on Luka especially, you just made him work. He was picking him up 3/4 court for the most part, trying to turn him, tire him out, and I think it worked. Late in the series, Luka's legs just obviously weren't there. You factor in that he obviously had to carry the team every other possession. But one thing I noticed watching this series, and most people would notice the same thing, is just the difference in style of play. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. But the Warriors, they're just fun to watch. They move the ball. It goes side to side. It goes inside out. It's just great passing, whereas I think the Mavs are kind of the opposite. I know they're an up-and-coming team. They're more fun to watch because you're seeing what Luka's going to do. And it felt like if he didn't create the play, they just couldn't get good, consistent looks. And the only other guy that inconsistently showed he could get his own shot or create was Dinwiddie. Brunson a little bit, but Brunson's more of a scoring small guard in my opinion. I think Dinwiddie can create a little bit more for others, but I don't know. It just felt like disparity between the two teams. When you look at the beauty of basketball, for me, I'd watch without being biased because I was there and I know the guys. The Warriors are just a beautiful style to play. The Mavs are a beautiful style if you're watching Luka. But as far as everything else, they move the ball a little bit, but it still starts and ends with Luka creating something. And I felt like it really kind of was noted, especially the last 3 or 4, probably the last 2 games in that series where the Mavs were just in possessions were just so bogged down, and it was just like, we'll just throw it to Luka or Jalen and they'll try to get us a bucket. And it just, you go down the other end and the Warriors are like swing, wide open 3 or Looney dunk or whatever. I don't know what your thoughts were around that.
No, my thoughts, Bogues, were, look, the experience factor, that first of all, the talent factor. You got Steph, you got Clay, you got Draymond, and then you got Wiggins, right? And then the other guys that are really good too. Like, obviously Looney's played out of his mind and in a good way, just played really well. And, you had some other guys contribute like Porter Jr. and so forth but the playmaking of Steph, the playmaking of Draymond, like Poole could get his own shot and sort of get into the paint a little bit, where they have multiple playmakers and then they've got ball movers. So like Clay knows that he'll want to take a shot, but if he's going to be contested, he'll just swing. So they've got ball movement, playmaking to get in the paint, and plus, ball movement on the perimeter. So for swings and open shots, where Dallas has ball movement on the perimeter, but they have got very limited sources of players that could get in the paint on their playmaking. Luka's the main player on that. Jalen can do it. Brunson could do it a little bit, and he's not really like a high motor. He's a chain speed guy. He's not a blazingly quick player that could just get in there whenever he wants. So he's, like you said, he'll bulldoze. He's a scorer. He can make shots, in straight line drive you. They move the ball well on the perimeter, Bogues, in my opinion, but they just don't have, like, Dinwiddie's inconsistent with it, but they don't have the playmaking and the talent to just get multiple guys that could demand 2 defenders on them. And then they got to, move the ball into open shots for the teammates. Luka's like the only guy that really had that. Brunson some nights can be that guy. Dorian's not that guy. Bullock's not that guy. Kleber's not that guy. They just didn't have enough of that. And I thought that, they're just looking at Luka to just get in and make all these plays for him. They obviously, and we'll talk about it later in the pod, I'm sure, about what they do next. I mean, look, they've done a fantastic job maximizing what they could do with that team, but they are limited. They are limited with star power. They're limited with, they got great role players, don't get me wrong, but they definitely need that second player that could demand not only a double team, but off the dribble, able to get in the paint whenever they want, either can score it, make a play for themselves, or attract a crowd and dish it to an open player. So I agree with you 100% of your assessment of things on the Mavericks versus Golden State.
Yeah, and just from a basketball purity point of view, it is noticeable, and I think the Warriors style, it's just so beautiful to watch when it's clicking, right? Yeah. Because they move the ball so well. You got guys that aren't really even on a scouting report, like Kevin Looney. He's getting dunks and offensive rebounds. So he was huge in this series. He was 10.6 and 10.6 a night for the series. And he was big just in when Dallas did happen to grind out a good defensive possession and get a stop. They couldn't get a rebound. And Looney he looked like Rodman out there at times on the offensive end at least, because he'd wedge out a whole side of the floor. Ball would bounce over the rim to that side. He'd get the offensive rebound, kick out to a 3, and that's demoralizing when you've played good defense. Luka did finish up with 32, 9, and 6 for the series. Brunson and Dinwiddie were 18 and 16 respectively. I guess the question now is where to for Dallas? We know Brunson's heading to free agency. There are rumors that Dallas are going to really be aggressive in bringing in a center or a big man that can, number one, rebound. That they need to get someone that can get some rebounds. I mean, Powell's a great role player. I don't think he's a long-term solution at the 5 spot starting for him. I like him off the bench. I think he's a great energy guy off the bench for 15 to 20. I don't think he's a starting 5-man. So I think there's rumors to Rudy Gobert that started, months ago. that could be a candidate. I don't know what you're hearing, but I think that's something they need to figure out. I think they just need to find, probably another playmaker too. And I think that's Hardaway Jr. He has been hurt obviously, so I think he was a big out for them. I think he's another playmaker that they can have on that wing, and then all of a sudden you got Luka, you got Dinwiddie, you got the length of Hardaway Jr. And then you can slot in Finney Smith or Brunson in that lineup with a solid big man. That's now an even better lineup. So we have to remember that Hardaway Jr. was out, and that was a big out for them. But what are you hearing as far as Dallas's moves at the center spot? Because I know that's a key area of concern. And where do you think Dallas go with Brunson and whatnot?
Well, they've got an issue for sure. Well, first of all, they got a great issue going on, which they got Luka Doncic, they got all these role players signed up, and they've got basically their whole team back. I think that Cuban at the end of the day will pay Brunson whatever, in unless it goes crazy over $30 million a year. I think that he'll re-sign Brunson basically to whatever it's going to take to keep that unit in check. Because let's be honest, if they lose Jalen Brunson, they're fucked. Because they've got these role players that can make shots and roll to the rim and do things, but they need that second guy, and they've got Dinwiddie, and they've got Hardaway, and they've got, that Dinwiddie and Hardaway is a big part of things, but I think Brunson really brings a steady force to settle things down, be that second guy who could score for Luka. Now, what Cuban might say is, look, if this negotiation, say if the Detroit Pistons or the New York Knicks or somebody comes up with a lot of money for the kid, 28, 29 million, they're look, we're going to, combine Hardaway and Dinwiddie and basically recreate Brunson within those two guys instead of spending 28, 29 million, because they're going to go into the tax, and they'll probably go into the tax deep. Maybe I'm wrong on the figures, but I mean, right now you're looking at here's his salary. They got they got Hardaway at 19, Dinwiddie at 18, Luka's at 35.7, Bullock, they got 10-2, Dorian, they got 12-2. They've got a lot of guys, so they can't really do a lot in free agency unless they're moving people. They don't have a lot of room in their cap, so they could re-sign Brunson. It's their own guy, but now you coming back with the same team. But same team plus Hardaway. That will be interesting because Hardaway's been out. He was out before the Dinwiddie trade with the broken foot. It'll be interesting how Hardaway and Dinwiddie fit. I think adding a guy that could average another 17 a game could recreate what Brunson has. Brunson's not a great playmaker as far as making plays for others. He's more of a tough guy, can make shots, can make easy plays. He doesn't have the vision even close to what Luka has. So do you pay $29 million and add that to payroll for another 5 years? I think, what Cuban's been good at is sort of saying, hey, that might be a little bit too much. If it's 20 million, 23 million, 24 million, I could see him re-signing him, adding Hardaway to the mix and saying, okay, now adding a center, that'd be interesting. I've heard Levine's name mentioned as a second scoring option. I don't think so. But if they add Gobert, how do you get him? That's the thing. Gobert makes, good money.
Well, Powell and Dinwiddie package, something like that.
But now Powell's expiring at 11, so that would make sense, because then you take him. But Ainge is going to want value back. He's going to want young players. He's going to want assets. He's going to want draft picks. So you could throw a slew of draft picks and throw somebody like Powell in, or because they don't really have a lot of expiring deals for high money. So you're going to have to probably. Hold on for a second. Let me get Gobert. So Gobert is at 38, Bogues, right? So to get to Gobert, you're going to have to bring back about 30 in salary. And so Powell's at 11. Dinwiddie you can get, but you get Dinwiddie for next year and the year after at 18 plus. So you're going to have to give him a slew of draft picks. You're going to, they're not getting cap relief. They're not really getting cap relief unless you give him expiring deals. Now, Kleber's at 9, expiring. I mean, he's at a 9 I think he's a player option if I'm not a team option if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be hard in my opinion, but look, I don't do this for a living with the cap stuff. It's going to be hard to get up to that 30 million to get Gobert. And then you're going to face the same problems that Utah faces. The lack of offense, the lack of free throw shooting, with Gobert. So yes, you get the rebounding and the defense, but the offensive stuff you're still going to have issues with. And then also, if you re-sign Brunson for a bigger number that you want, now you're stuck with that team. Not stuck because it's a good team, but now you're going to still have the same problems. Now you're going to have really high payroll. And this is going to be a group really going forward because I don't think that they have a lot of value in trade. Like Dorian Finney-Smith, people are going to want, right? They're going to want Kleber to a certain extent in trade talks. Hardaway has some value because he could score. Dinwiddie has a little bit of value, but these aren't guys that teams are begging to get. They like them, but you're gonna have to get a bigger asset in a trade and throw these guys in for them to say, okay, let's go. And then if you trade a Dorian Finney-Smith or a Dinwiddie or a Hardaway Jr., now you're sort of trading away their really special skill. Dorian, one of the best defenders in the league. Hardaway could really score. Dinwiddie's got a lot of offense on and off the ball. So it's interesting, Bogues. I think they're in a great spot because they got, in my opinion, the best player in basketball, with Luka, and you've got all these role players that are locked in that could do some different things, but they definitely need an upgrade in a second star as far as a scorer, and they need that rebounding, and size inside. So that's sort of an issue. How do you see it, Bogues?
I think look, they got to the conference finals. I think keeping the core guys together is important. I mean, you can't teach experience. You can't teach. Don't forget all these guys that are playing with Luka. Luka's a star, clear cut. They know how to play with him. They know what spots to get to on the floor. They know when to shoot in the offense. So, sometimes you don't want to make big changes and bring in 3 or 4 new guys because there's an adjustment period, right? So I think, Dinwiddie's brought into his role off the bench, which is great. He could start for some teams. I think Brunson, they need to bring him back as well, just with their cap situation. I think it makes sense to bring him back. If they have to overpay, they have to overpay. I'd still like them to find a center somewhere. I think that they have a real big rebounding issue. And part of that is because they do go small, and they do go small with, especially against the Warriors, they went small, but they do go small a lot, even the last couple of years, the infamous Clippers series and all those games where the Utah series where they go small and really try to isolate Gobert. I still think they need a 5-man that can rebound at a high level. Like I said, Powell's an effort guy, an energy guy, not a fabulous rebounder. He's consistent. So I think getting that upgrade at the 5, and it doesn't need to be a Gobert, maybe, even someone like a Whiteside or just someone that can provide a bit more rebounding for him. If they're cap strapped and they can't make a trade, he's trying to go after someone like that as a backup maybe, or someone that you can start and then bring in Powell as the energy minutes. That's what I'd like him to address. But I don't think you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think they've had a hell of a year. Luka's got his feet wet now in the conference finals. This is the first time they've been out of the first round in a long time. So I think the arrow's pointing up, and they've got a lot to be excited about. A few small tweaks along the way, maybe a vet min guy, maybe a buyout guy at All-Star break next season can put them over the top and get them to potentially a final series. So I think they've had a fantastic year. They should really be proud of what they've put together, and Luka's going to get better and better, but I wouldn't make too many big changes. I just try to get their rebounding addressed and then go from there. So,
Bogues, how about Andre Drummond as a name? Because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Would you bring him in or no?
Oh, maybe. Just hopefully, you hear some stuff about Drummond about is he always locked in mentally? He's a little bit loose at times, but maybe this is what he needs. Go to a team that's going to compete in the conference finals. He'll play a good role there, but that's one. I wouldn't overpay for him by any means, but if you can get him 3, 4, 5 mil for a year for 2 years, 10 million, 2 year 10 million or something like that, or even a little bit less, I'd consider it. Anything more than that, probably not. So I'm not sure what their mid-level situation is, but I wouldn't give him the full mid-level, but I think, someone like that, definitely. A Drummond, a Whiteside, who else is out there that would be
I would say Yeah, I would say here's like 5 names. I would say Drummond, Mitchell Robinson. They're going to have to get in trade. So if like maybe sign and trade if they're not going to get
really
Brunson.
Good. Yeah, he'd be really good in that.
Yeah,
system.
so he'd have to be a sign and trade. Montrezl Harrell will be out there. I don't know if he's big enough. I'll tell you who else is out there who's going to be a free agent is Nurkic. He's another one that could, possibly. Why wouldn't he want to sign there if you can get close to the money? That's probably it. I mean, Dwight Howard's out there. I don't think they'll go there, but those are just some of the names. Ibaka will be out there as well. Again, you gotta, with this stuff, Bogues, you gotta be, look, if they had 40 million in cap room, they could get anybody they want, but you gotta be realistic with some of this stuff. So that's why I'm just mentioning the names like a Drummond, like a Mitchell Robinson will be a pipe dream because they're going to have to trade for him. But, Nurkic coming in for $9 million a year. I don't even know if they'll have that, the full mid-level, but, something like that will probably be some of the names that will be filtered around unless they could pull off a trade. And maybe I'm undervaluing their roster as far as what they can get done in a trade, but that's sort of what I'm thinking, when I look at things.
The other name is Steven Adams, but that's a big salary, obviously.
Yeah.
So he's been thrown around a lot as well. But yeah, if they can address that, I think, and try to go to the cheaper side, which would be a Drummond or a Whiteside. I think Whiteside's contracted though next season, I believe. I think he did a 2-year in Utah. But yeah, I mean, that's what I would address. But otherwise, I think all is good for Dallas. And Golden State move on to yet another final. So that'll be fun to see what happens there. So, and reportedly, Gary Payton Jr., or the second or the third or whatever. I get confused, but he's reportedly going to be back for game 1 or 2. So that's a huge sign because I thought without him, I thought that was I thought they'd put him on Luka and slow Luka down a lot with Payton, but with him out of the series, that's why I thought they'd at least get a couple more games. But Wiggins did a fantastic job. All right, Heat Celtics, real swingy series. I mean, we all thought after Miami's game 4 and 5 performances, they were absolutely horrible in both of those games. They couldn't score. Yeah. They scored 80 points in game 5. Just not great. Rumors that Jimmy Butler's potentially carrying an injury. There's other guys that are hurt. Kyle Lowry with a hamstring. Blah 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 blah. But you go into game 6 in Boston and you think, this series is over. They're not going to lose in Boston. They're going to wrap it up and they're going to go and start preparing for Golden State. And Jimmy fucking Butler. I mean. 47, 9, and 8 with 4 steals on fantastic shooting clips. I mean, he was just sensational and just he willed them obviously over the line. Not a lot of support offensively, really. Beyond that, it was solely him creating everything. I mean, for Boston, Tatum was very efficient shooting. He for his 30 points, but he had 7 turnovers, real loose with the ball. But yeah, we're going to a game 7 in Miami, so we know that favors the home team by 80+% in NBA history. Game 7, home team usually wins, but we've seen the opposite. We've seen Dallas go into Phoenix and smash them by 40 odd. But this series it's interesting. It's up and down, and it is a bit of a chess game. Both these coaches are very well equipped in the chess game and making adjustments, and it's been good to see. There are some injuries, Tyler Hero is reportedly 50-50 for game 7. Smart, he's banged up again. Williams for Boston, banged up again. So who knows what happens there. I thought without Hero that they would struggle just with that added. I think he's their next best scoring punch of a guy that can get hot and get him a quick 20-30. I thought with him out of the lineup, they would really struggle to score. A friend of mine's a Miami Heat fan, and I was going back and forth with him, loves Jimmy Butler, and I said, I just can't see you guys scoring. And I was looking really good on game 4 and 5 because they couldn't really. And then they come out and have this performance. So this will be a great game. I think it's going to go down to the wire. I think it'll be a close game. I think Boston just came out in game 6 and just thought, we're at home. We've just punched, we found the magic potion against Miami. They can't score on us. Our defense is great. We're in Boston. We'll get this win and we'll cruise to victory. And in playoffs, that's not the case, and they've stayed alive. So that's been fun to watch. Tatum and Brown are both averaging 24 a night for Boston. Butler's averaging 24 a night for them, and then the next best scorer for Miami is Bam with 13, which was kind of alarming when I looked at it, but it does go in with what we're saying about them not being able to score. And then it's pretty balanced beyond that. There's a bunch of guys with 9, 8, 7, 6, 6. So we both had Boston 4-2. Trouble might be brewing for both of us, Pro, because like I said, 80+% chance for that home team in Game 7. What have you seen so far in this series?
Well, first of all, Bogues, you should have ran for the fucking hills when I picked Boston and Dallas, so you just go the other side. Let's be honest. I mean, how long do you need that fucking trade?
Besides the Denver Golden State pick, which was just outrageous, I thought most of your picks were pretty good.
Dude, it's like Bitcoin, right? When it's at like 70,000, sell that motherfucker. Because like the next day it could be at like 11 grand. And that's basically what I was. I mean, come on. How long can you ride that train for? I mean, I'm a walking fucking nightmare when it comes to predictions. But I thought fucking Boston was going to be a play-in team at the beginning of the year. So that's how much fucking I know. But no, look, these series, like I said, I was a part of with Kobe in 2010 when I thought they were fucked. Bynum was hurt. Boston was killing them. They just had all the answers. They had no interior help. Fucking, Lakers had nothing off the bench. And then Perkins gets hurt. And then the fucking series swung, right? And then like everything that you thought was going to happen just went reverse. And then Lakers just jammed it down their throat and still had a tweak, they had to still win the last 2 games. They were down 3-2, went back to LA for 2, and then they ended up sealing it. So for Miami, Boston, you and I were on the right track. Like Boston was killing it. Jimmy Butler sort of like in those middle games really, didn't look good. They didn't have any scoring. They're trying to will their way to win. I mean, you can't get anything. Oladipo inefficient. Strauss really wasn't it. You can't really rely on Tucker to be that guy. Hero out. So you just thought everything was, swinging Boston's way with those 2 guys and Tatum and Brown and, Smart doing what he's doing. Horford looked great. Even without Robert Williams, they were looking really good. And then you watch last game, like you said, I think that's normal for all NBA teams closing out at home. It's really hard on the road to really, to tie this thing up. And that's what they did. I think it was just their defense. I think it was Adebayo screening. I was Bam screening. Like Jimmy Butler playing center field when they put 2 on the ball on Tatum, and Tatum would just loft up this pass out of the trap.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then and they just that's what they did. They put 2 on the ball. You can't loft those fucking, those hanging curveballs up because somebody's going to just snatch it out of the air. And that's what they did. If it wasn't Butler, it was like Lowry, who looks like he's 70 years old because he's so banged up and he's still getting to the rim.
Takes 8 charges of possession.
It's unreal. And he's definitely going to win the Golden fucking Globes.
He slides in,
fouls, right?
Honestly, so we're watching their games. He slides in every possession. He's sliding in, trying to take a charge on someone.
It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. Good. So and look, and I think that if they do get by, and I think Miami will probably win this Game 7 just because of the numbers. But even if they do, Butler is their own, and it's going to be the same thing that they had 2 years ago when they went to LA against LA in the bubble. Like, you got Butler and there's just no one else that could score. I don't think Hero, I don't know. I'm not a fucking doctor, so I don't know about his injury, how long it's going to take for him to get back. I just don't see Hero being that guy in the finals coming off an injury. They just don't have it. Oladipo is just too inconsistent. He can't make shots. Tucker could make corner threes, but Adebayo, Bam you could screen him and just roll him and he could create a little bit, but they just don't have that score. And I could see them getting by Boston because it's at Miami. I just don't see them getting by Golden State at this point. And for Boston, they just got to go in there, take care of business with the ball. Just don't fall in love with the 3, attack the basket, fucking, move the ball, take care of the ball, get good shots, and don't turn the fucking thing over, because turnovers and offensive rebounding, letting up offensive rebounding second chance points are absolute fucking killers that you have to take control of. And you got to say, you know what? No fucking more, or it's going to be an ugly Game 7 for them.
Yeah, it is. And just looked up Tyler Hero. He's got a groin injury. So,
shit.
Yeah, who knows? They haven't released kind of the extent of that injury, but that is not good, because when a groin could be a week or 2, or it could be two or 3 months. You just don't know the extent of the strain. But he is averaging 13.5 and 4.1 rebounds for him. you know, the eyes are pointing at Duncan Robinson for a big game 7, pro. He's going to give.
Fuck.
He got 6 minutes in the last game. He made a few shots in that blowout loss in game 4. So you thought, you know, sometimes in a playoff series where you get, you know, it's a close series and you're getting blown out and you put in a guy that's been struggling and they hit some shots, you sometimes think, shit, you know, this is probably they're in their groove a little bit. They've made a couple of shots. He didn't shoot it well, but he made a couple of threes. You thought maybe he'd get back in the rotation, but he's only played 6 minutes the next night. But he's probably the guy you got to look at. Like he's I don't know how you play him, because every time they put him in the game, he basically fouls immediately because they put him in an action and then try to pick on him. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go against my pick. I've learnt my lesson in the last series. I'm gonna stay with Boston. I'm gonna go against the odds. I think that Boston get in the film room, and I think Udoka shows all the turnovers like you just said and says, look at this shit. If we just clean this up, they had 17 turnovers last game, we can get that down to 12, you know, league average, somewhere around there. That's 5 extra possessions. We lost by 8 points. So I think that's a fix for them. Give credit to Miami. They're long, they're athletic. I think Oladipo should get some credit. He's bought into a role. You know, he was a number 1 option in Indiana for a bit there. He's been on teams where he was a go-to guy, and he's bought into, you know, just being a defensive stopper and taking a shot when it's available. So you got to give him credit. I think he's been really good for them defensively, especially. But yeah, I'm going to go with Boston. I'm going to stay with my pick. It's going to be 4-3 instead of 4-2, and it's a you know, not a great chance for me percentage-wise, but I just don't want to go backwards and forwards. So I'll go opposite you, pro, and I'll stick with Boston.
Bogues, I'm going to do something out of character, man. I'm going to be like that asshole in the movie Titanic, dress up as a pregnant woman, and jump on one of those lifeboats, man. I'm getting the fuck off that Boston ship. I'm going to go with Miami in this one. I mean, come on. I'm going to make our boy, Bob Vulgaris happy. I'm going to go with the odds. I'm going to go with the numbers. I'm going to be analytical on this one.
Finally,
for the first time in my fucking life. Yes, it's creeped in. I'm sorry. I'll be a hypocrite. I'm going to go against Boston, go to Miami, which means, you know what? Fucking Boston's going to win this one. But I'm going to go with Miami. I'm going to switch off. I'm going to jump on the lifeboat. I look like I'm pregnant anyway, so I don't really have to dress up for the part. So I'm going to go with Miami on this one.
Okay. I'm looking forward to watching this one. I'm going to drop the kids off at school, get a quick workout in, and then drive home as fast as I can and get this. I just hope it's not a blowout, because a few of these games where you're like, this is going to be a great game, and by the time I'm finished making brunch or breakfast or lunch, I'll turn around and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm trying to enjoy my meal in a close game, and it's a 30-point game. So hopefully, Miami, Boston, if you're listening to Rogue Bows podcast, make this a game. All NBA teams were announced, pro. I'm going to go through these real quick. First team is Booker, Doncic, Giannis, Tatum, Jokic. Second team, Curry, DeRozan, KD, Joel Embiid, Ja Morant. Third, LeBron, Chris Paul, Siakam, Towns, and Trae Young. Any glaring? I know you don't like getting into these, but anything glaring for you?
Nah.
For me, it was LeBron in the third team. I think
yeah, people are yelling about LeBron, yeah.
I would, yeah. I mean, your team didn't make the 10, bro. Like, I know he's one of the greatest players of all time and that whole conversation, but yeah, I don't know about all that. I know when I was in the league and they really incentivized the All-NBA teams as they do the All-Star teams about saying you need to be at least above 500 and be in a playoff mix to be on these teams. Well, I know he's a star and he probably needed to be on politically, but that's probably one that was glaring for me. Booker on the first team, yeah, I mean, you could probably flip in with Curry. Curry didn't have a great. Was it the second half of the season? There was a portion of the season where he wasn't shooting the ball as well. So I get that, and I guess Phoenix had the best record in the league. So otherwise, I'm pretty good with it. I think it's pretty close. So all right, Lakers, they hired Darvin Ham, so that's finally got done. Your Doc Rivers conspiracy theories out the window, pro. Maury said no. We're keeping him in Philly. We love him, so he's staying over there. We'll see how long that lasts. But yeah, didn't kind of expect this one early on when the process all started. Remember Mark Jackson was in the mix, Terry Stotts, a few different guys, but they've gone with Darvin Ham. What do you know about him? Do you know much about? I've read that he's a player. They're saying that he's a kind of a player's coach. When you hear that, you kind of cringe because players' coaches usually get fired. But they reiterated more in an article that I read that was around he really knows how to communicate and kind of be a disciplinarian, but in the new age way, not the rah-rah way we can kind of get across guys and still make them feel good about themselves whilst letting them know they're doing something wrong. I think that's the new 2022 way you criticize someone, right? But what do you know about him?
So I worked the Tim Gergerich camp in Vegas with him probably for like 3 or 4 summers out in Vegas, like working out players and stuff and NBA guys and being able to work with them and spend time with them. Darvin Ham is a no nonsense motherfucker. He looks like a Navy SEAL, like jacked, strong, played in the league for for a few years, for Milwaukee, maybe a couple other teams, strong.
Detroit, dude. I think he won a chip in Detroit, actually.
He could have, yes, but he's a no nonsense. You do not fuck with him. He's very bright. He's very good with players. I like him a lot. And I think that, he's smart enough to sort of read the room of what he needs to do there. It's a bad job, but he needs to take it because there are only 30 of these things. And even though it's a bad job and it might only last a year before they break it up, I think it's a job that would be good. Like I said, I don't think that they wanted a guy that was going to harp on a lot of things like hold him accountable. Not that Darvin won't. I don't want to make it sound like he won't hold him accountable, but I don't think that, because Doc Rivers will be over the top in a good way. Like he'd try to hold guys accountable. I don't think that group wants that. I think they want somebody who could sort of read the room, see what they need to do, be a stern presence, but maybe somebody a little bit new, not somebody that would, that they'll just roll their eyes at. And I know Darvin's not one of those guys who's going to if he knows it when he's got to kick them in the ass, he's going to know when he's got to lay off. I think he's good like that. I think it's a good way to give him a chance. He's been in a couple of stops as assistant coach. I think he's done a great job. I think it'll be good for them. I don't think that they're a good team. I don't care if they get John Wooden, Pat Riley, and Red fucking Auerbach coaching them. I don't think they're going to really get a lot out of them as far as a playoff push. But I do think that he's a good guy to have there. He's not just some recycled coach that, I liked a couple of the names they had on the list, and I think that they could have done good jobs. But I think it's good to give somebody new a chance that, they'll respect, and it's new blood. And like I said, I don't think they're going to be a very good team, Bogues, in my opinion. But I do think that they hired Terry Stotts, in my opinion, would have been a really good hire. But I think that they probably just want somebody new, somebody who's been a player like at the NBA level. And I don't know. I think he'd be a good choice. Again, I just don't think anyone's going to get much more out of the team that they've have. And we'll see what happens.
4-year deal reportedly, pro.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that it's a shit show there. And I think that anybody's taking the job say, look, you want me? It's going to cost you this. Yeah, it's not going to be this fucking deal where it's going to be 2 years and 3rd year team option or whatever. Then again, I have no idea what the fucking deal was, but it doesn't surprise me. If I'm taking that job, I'm going to be honest. I'm like, look, I know you're going to break this thing up, if it doesn't work. So I want security. I want to be here for a while, and look, they can pay it. Look, they make $8 billion fucking dollars a week there. Why wouldn't they? But I think it's a good hire, Bogues. I do. I think they're going to wait out. I've heard that they wanted to wait out for Doc. I've heard like a lot of both sides are reaching out to each other and just seeing what was gonna take. But I think that at the end they just don't want somebody else to snatch up. Like they didn't want Charlotte to snatch up Darvin Ham because that was their guy, and they didn't want to wait on Doc in Philly to see what was going to happen. So they just took the guy they wanted. They got him 4 years. I'm sure LeBron had a cosign on it, and Davis had a sort of cosign on it. And look, they got their guy.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, you can get him into at least a play-in in his first season. But I think for the long term, post LeBron, I think it's a good candidate. So we'll see how that all goes. James Worthy, did you see his comments?
I love funny. Worthy, but no, I didn't.
Pretty funny. He was asked about the NBA today, and he just basically said all they do is practice threes, lift weights, get tattoos, tweet, and go on social media, which I thought was pretty funny. But look, it's a testament to the time. That's what it is today. I mean, I did see a funny reply to that, and someone said, "Well, it beats running trains on women back in the 80s."
Yeah, dude, you gotta watch out. I mean, everybody's got Twitter, everybody's got fucking Google these days, and
exactly.
If you want to be self-righteous, you open yourself up to a lot of shit, man.
Yeah, I just thought it was a funny comment. I thought I just mentioned it. And Katie actually said, yeah, you're right, man. It's the new age. It is what it is. So I think, like I said, you can't really criticize guys for doing that. I mean, it is what it is. It's a testament to the time and the way the game's, played and coached and all the things off the court are what they are. But I thought I'd just mention that real quick. Tim Connolly, gone, poached by the Timberwolves, 5 years, $40 million. So
plus ownership.
Oh, did he get ownership too? Ownership. Did he?
He gets I don't know what
small
percentage,
portion, yeah. Who cares if it's
but
one?
It rolls into ownership. Yep.
I mean, the Timberwolves would probably be worth $1 or $2 billion anyway, so 1% of that's still decent. Interesting that the Nuggets didn't come up, but there was reports that they put their foot on the gas towards the end of his negotiation. So right before he was going to sign with the Wolves, they said, "Oh, we're going to come up with an offer," and they still didn't get close to 5 years, 40. So. I know there's a lot of people disappointed that are Nuggets fans because they think that he should have been re-signed and upped and paid accordingly to what he's worth. And we all know the owner there in Denver does like to cheap out a little bit. But Jokic has been on record saying that he wants to still sign his extension, or he will sign that big long-term deal and stay in Denver. So that's a good sign. But just an interesting one that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. And he's gone to Minnesota and has some work there to try and get them to be not just a one-hit wonder in the playoffs.
Yeah. So going back to the Worthy thing real quick. I mean, look, the money fucked everything up, Bogues. Let's be honest. Back then, the money wasn't that much. They didn't have social media. They had sort of less things they can get into, less activities, less hobbies, less. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, these guys today, even below average players are making 9, 10, 11 million bucks. So like their sort of dedication to the game on some fronts aren't going to be what they did, because they had to earn their money. Like they had to earn their money a lot more than these players today have to earn it as far as the amount of money. You average 5 and 5 back then, you're getting a contract for $400,000. You average 5 and 5 today, you're getting 4 years, 40. And that's just the reality of it. You're making all this money, even if you're out of the league, you're going to get out, below average players are going to make over $100 million. Back when I was working for Grover, we had like Jawan Howard and Michael Finley, all-star players that'll make like $150 million in their career or so. Now you have players that are 8 levels below them making 150 in their career. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So that's just what I have to say about that. As far as the Conley thing, look, Minnesota, the new ownership group was like, look, we were going to poach somebody, a high level guy. They're not going to get Sam Presti in Oklahoma City, which is the best GM in the league. You're not going to get guys like Pat Riley. He's sort of in Miami, for the rest of his life. All these other GMs and things that are really good, they're not going to be able to poach. So, they took advantage of the fact that Denver, their ownership group, notorious for underpaying their employees as far as their upper management and things. So the only thing about Denver though is they're already made. Like Conley already did his deal there. They already brought in Jokic, Murray, Gordon, Barton, and they've got Porter Jr. They've got this sort of nucleus already. So if he does leave, it's not like a head coach in basketball where everybody's going to transfer. They're already set salary wise. Jokic is going to sign a supermax, so he's going to be there 5 more years. Murray's got 3 more years. Aaron Gordon's got 4 more years. Will Barton, they're going to have to deal with his deal after next year. So all their, Michael Porter Jr. signed up for the next few years. So they're done. Like they've got, Calvin Booth is their assistant GM, played at Penn State, played in the NBA a long time. Good guy. They like him there, sort of. So they're sort of on cruise control in the sense like they could reshift some of the roster guys and bench guys, make a couple of minor deals, but their team is set. They got they've got their coach. It's going to take them. They've got everything signed up. So like him leaving is a big blow. Don't get me wrong, but they've got the nucleus now for Minnesota. They need a guy. They need a guy that's going to sort of, right the ship. They've made some great strides in their team, but now they still need some shift. The only thing is they're a playoff team. They're not going to be drafting top 4, top 5 like they've been in the past. So it's not like they're going to get all these assets right away. He's going to have to retool the roster. Look, D'Angelo Russell is on an expiring deal this year, $32 million. Towns has got 1 more year after. He's got 2 more years, excuse me. Beverly, Beverly's on one more year at $13 million. Like, so they've got they could restructure the roster a little bit. The issue, Bogues, here is they've got this roster together. They're a good team with the roster they have. The problem is if you start trading, like, what are you going to get for Karl Anthony Towns? Are you going to get 70 cents on the dollar? Are you going to get 80 cents on the dollar? You know what he's going to give you. You know he's going to be 20 and 10. You know what Russell's going to give you. I would say Russell's probably going to be the guy out the door. But even as flawed as Russell's game is, what are you going to get for him in trade? A couple of draft picks, a couple of decent players. You ship him to New York for what? Like, what are you going to shift him for? You're going to, Fournier and, Walker, Kemba Walker, like, you're not going to get much. So you might as well keep the roster you got, but there's not a lot of additions you can make. Salary wise, I don't know what they have in room. They might have like 15 million in room or so. You're not going to get a great player for that. So it's going to be a long range project. Now, the one thing they do have is Anthony Edwards, who's going to be a star in the league and a perennial all-star, in my opinion. But they need more, and he's a good guy to have. He's a good guy. They took advantage of the fact that they knew that Denver wasn't going to give him an offer. And hey, $8 million a year is life-changing money. And Tim Conley's good. I know him when he was in the Washington Wizards. He's a smart guy. He's done well in Denver. He's a good guy to have. He's going to organize. He's going to keep you in contention. He's going to work his magic. But it's not like hiring, you know what I'm saying? It's not like hiring a big time head coach in college where you're going to get all these recruits that want to come. And the NBA, you got to deal with the salary cap. You got to deal with rules. It's not so easy just to flip a team. So it's going to take some time. It's going to he's probably going to have to earn every dollar, that $40 million over 5 years. It's probably going to take 3 or 4 years to really make a big punch, with that organization. But I think they hired the right guy.
Yeah, they did. And it goes to show how much executives are making now. They've really taken a huge bump up in salary as well, as we spoke about players not too long ago with the James Worthy comments. Executives are now getting a boatload of cash as well. I mean, he's a very well respected person in the league and an executive, but he's not up there with, like you said, the Presties and the Pat Rileys. So yeah, it's good for everyone. Everyone's reaping the rewards of a league making a shitload of money. All right, the Pelicans, I just read this actually, which was interesting. So they don't want to offer Zion the full max, pro. He's been on record as to saying that he'd love to sign it, saying all the right things. I just read that the ownership group there, they also own what's the football team there? Is it the Saints?
The Saints.
The Saints, yeah. Yep. That she wants to do a football type deal for Zion. So they don't want to give the full 5 years and they don't want to give a full guarantee. This, I assume, won't be taken well by Zion's camp, and they've made those comments public, pro. So we've spoken about Zion at length. I'm off. I'd rather sign and trade him, to be honest, and bring in some other pieces around that group that they went to the playoffs, because I think they played an exciting brand of basketball. I think it was great. I think if they can sign and trade and move off him, that's what I would do. But I don't think this will be too good from Zion's camp of his people will be in his ear saying, they're disrespecting you, you shouldn't sign here. So what are your thoughts around it? Yeah,
my thoughts are, look, that stuff happens. That stuff works in football. That's just football's realm. This is the NBA. This is fucking reality in this league. And so is the NFL, don't get me wrong. But NBA reality is that shit doesn't work. I'm not a huge Zion Williams fan. I think he's the most unskilled, most productive, unskilled player I've ever seen. And he's productive with his points and things. I think there's a lot of flaws in his game. Now, that being said, he's an asset. He's an asset to their team because other teams that are stuck, the Portland Trailblazers, the Detroit Pistons, even maybe the Houston Rockets, teams like that are going to be desperate for players that will put up numbers and are quote unquote superstar. So I would just sign him. Every deal in this league is tradable. We've seen it happen multiple times in the last few years. John Wall, untradeable, ended up trading him. Westbrook, untradeable, traded him. Chris Paul, when he was in Houston, untradeable, traded him. All these guys that we would say that's untradeable ended up being traded. Regardless of what happens with his weight, 8,000 pounds, 190 pounds. Somebody's going to want him because he will be able to give you 26 and 8, whatever he's going to put up. So I would sign him with the idea that we're going to trade him, start talking to teams immediately and saying, look, what's your package? Because we're going to move this guy. Yeah, although that will get leaked in 8 seconds, but you know what I'm saying. They need to put their feelers out. What are teams are willing to get? Multiple draft picks. That's what you want if you're them. I don't think if I'm a team, I'm not giving you a great player for him. If I'm the Detroit Pistons, I'm going to give you, Jeremy Grant and picks. I'm not going to give you this great player. So you can add assets to your team. You're not going to get Ja Morant for him. You're not going to get Jason Tatum for him. You're not going to get Luka Doncic for him. You're not going to get Paul George for him. You're not going to get Kawhi Leonard for him, and so on and so on. So get your stockpile of picks. Get your pretty good player, a borderline all-star player, multiple picks, and pick swaps and all that stuff. And that's what you're going to get. But you're not going to pull that bullshit where you're not going to sign him, because if this guy fucking walks, which he could, or wobbles, I'm another big guy that wobbles. I don't walk. If he's going to walk out, then you're not going to get anything. And now you're going to have to be forced to deal him somewhere, and nobody's going to give you anything. They'll give you some picks, and that's about it. So look, get the fucking guy signed, move him out of town, and just get as much as you can for him and stop the fucking nonsense. Like that stuff, that stuff's going to be leaked. Every team's leaking. Every fucking team's got leaks because they want to be seen in the media. So, making that statement is going to leak out to the media, and it's just going to get him pissed off. I don't think he's that great of a player. I think he's a very good player that puts up numbers. I don't think he makes you a winning team, but he can put up numbers. But you don't want to piss him off. He's sort of like a gentle giant. He's always smiling, whatever. His family hates fucking New Orleans, the whole ownership group and all, management and all that stuff. They fucking hate him, but he sort of handles it all right. Don't piss him off, because then he can make your life a living fucking hell. There's always going to be a team that wants him. All right. But if he decides I'm not signing anything, give me the qualifying offer, I'm fucking out of here. I'm not going to accept any restricted free agent deal offer sheet. I'm just going to play this thing out, and then I'm fucking gone. Go fuck yourself. Now you're in trouble. You don't want to be Billy Big Balls in this negotiation. You're going to trade him. Just fucking get him signed up, max him out. His contract's tradable. You can get a lot for him in picks and things, and then just move forward. Stop the fucking nonsense.
So why would she do this? So Gail Benson is the owner in question. Why would they leak that to the media? Like it's not really creating leverage for you, because you still got to pay him. You're still gonna have to pay him regardless. I don't know why you go public with this. I think it's a conversation you have behind closed doors and say, look, we have concerns about your weight, your body, blah, 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 blah. We want to put some incentives in there where everything's not fully guaranteed. A la, Joel Embiid had a similar thing when he signed his big initial big deal, right? And he fulfilled all of it, right, pretty much. I think he's got all his money. But why would you go public with it, of all things?
Well, first of all, they're billionaires, right? Billionaires, when they play hardball, everybody else usually crumbles, right? And that's the thing, and that's what they probably do. They used to get in their way. Most of them, not all, but I would say 99.9% of them do. They get their way all the time, and they can play tough guy. But what she's got to understand, okay, is you need players. You need assets on your roster. Regardless if you like this guy, not, you think he's always going to be overweight, not, whatever. You still need him, because even if you want to deal him, you need him under contract. And under his rookie deal, he only makes a certain amount of money. So you need to re-sign him for that big amount. So now you can get an influx of contracts and more assets. The draft picks have no numeric value in the trade. But if you want players, if he's on a deal, that's paying him, say, $10 million, all right, $13 million next year. You want to get him up to, I don't know what the rookie scale is. Maybe you can get him up to 28 million, right, on his next deal. So you need him at that 28 number. So if you want more players back in trade, maybe you get a better player, but if you're going to deal him, sign and trade at 13, that's not what you're going to get back in trade for if you do have him at 28 and then wait the 6 months that you could trade him in December after he signs his deal in that July. So hold the fucking horses. it's the dumbest thing ever to say something like that. But people just like, they don't think, even if you say it in the public or private around your circle, at least 3 people out of your circle, out of your 6 people in your circle, at least 3 are just direct links to the media. And it's going to get out. It's going to get out, and it's going to get out anyway. But that's just asinine to say. You need assets, and he is a asset, regardless of what you feel. And just sign the contract and get him the fuck out. But don't say things like that, because if he says, peace, I'm out, I'm out, I'm going to sign the qualifying offer at 23-24 and I'm fucking gone. Now you're going to get nothing, or you're going to get 2 cents on the dollar back and a sign and trade when he decides to go. So, and mostly he probably won't sign a trade. He'll be an unrestricted free agent in 24-25 and he's just going to peace out. So yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, tough one. I mean, you'd like to see that stuff kept in-house. I don't think it helps New Orleans' situation, and I just know how NBA superstars think and the people around them, and they're going to be not too happy with those comments, much like I guess New Orleans weren't too happy with his body and stuff last year, so it's going to be one of those tense things, and like you said, the player's going to hold all the leverage in that. All right. Did you see Draymond Green's comments? He got asked after they won the Game 5. Shaq asked him who they want to play. This was obviously before Game 6. He said he's not going to say who they want to play, and then they pressed him, and then he finally said, "I think Boston's going to make the finals. We're going to see Boston. If you're putting me on the spot, we're going to see Boston." This has been deemed controversial by a lot of Miami Heat players, Pro, and I'm kind of scratching my head as to why. He was asked a question, he gave an honest answer about who they're going to face. Udonis Haslem said that he broke the code. That's the new phrase this playoffs, yeah. Pro. There's a lot of there's a lot of code breaking. There's a lot of safe crackers out there. And then PJ Tucker made a little jibe saying, "Thank Draymond for our Game 6 performance." Well, number one, pump the brakes because you're still not there yet, Miami Heat. But I don't really see a problem with it. I mean, I know he's my former teammate. I know he's controversial at times, but he was asked his opinion on who he thought they were going to face, and he said it very confidently. Maybe people hated that, but I mean, they were up 3-2 at the time going back to Boston. Most people us included, picked Boston to win that in Boston. Do you find it like it's broken some code that I don't know about, Pro? Or
I don't have a code. I don't know. There's no fucking code to me. And look, they asked the guy a question, he answered it. I mean, I respect the hell out of Draymond Green. I'm not in his camp. I'm not out of his camp. I'm just sort of answering it as honest as I could. If a media member asks you a question and you answer it, if it's loaded, if it's not loaded, whatever, I don't think that's a loaded question. You're just saying, hey, who do you think you're playing? It's fine. I think players take this whole, and give me a pass on this one because I've never said this word in public and I never will again. Hater. I fucking hate that word. Like, oh, all the haters and this and that. Like, I think they need that for just to psych themselves up, whatever. But he's not being negative towards you. They asked him a question. Like if he said, hey, Miami sucks or this or that, I would say, yeah, okay, that's a little over the board. He just asked him a question. He gave him an answer. Let's just move on. But again, if anybody says anything that's not with you these days, it's just, oh, they're totally against me, blah, 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 fuck that guy. I don't think he broke any code, brother. It's not like he said this guy, so-and-so player is cheating on his wife and I've got pictures or this and that. That's breaking the code. It's, who do you think's going to win? I think Team A is going to win. Well, okay. Boom. That's it. It's got nothing to do with that. What the fuck? And he didn't fuel them any more or any less against their Game 6 against Boston based on what Draymond Green says. But again, I think everybody sort of, if you're not with them, you're against them sort of thing, and us against the world mentality. Hey, look, if that's what revs you up, that's what revs you up. I don't think he said anything out of line. I think it's because
I'll tell you what should rev you up, Pro. Game 6 for your playoff life should, yeah. If you need Draymond Green's comments to pump you up for a Game 6 for your playoff life, maybe he should have said it before Game 4 and 5. Maybe that would have helped him too. But I mean, I don't see why these guys, Tucker and Haslam, have said this is breaking the code. Especially now, considering the quote unquote new age media of players now that are actually rostered and current players. I mean, Draymond Green's one of the guys that's not afraid to go on inside the NBA, not afraid to go on his own podcast and talk about games he was just in and talk about other games. And I think you want that to an extent. I guess the code is that you shouldn't be talking about other teams. You shouldn't be doing media. But that's the way it's going now. Players are going to feel more and more comfortable, a la Patrick Beverley, a la Draymond Green, that while they're rostered, they're going to build their media brand. You can't hate on that. And for fans out there that hate scripted, robotic, media-trained answers, well, you've got guys that aren't doing that, so you should enjoy that. You want an honest opinion on things, and I like hearing players that are in the league give their thoughts about other teams. I think it's cool. I think it can be controversial, potentially disrespectful, if someone's feelings are hurt, like Miami's were. But I think it's fair play on. I don't think it's a huge deal, so I just thought I'd note that. But big news released today here in Australia, Pro. I'm going to touch this again, and hopefully this will be the last time. But the Liz Cambridge stuff we've discussed for almost 2 years now, or a year now, with the Nigerian national team. There's been a private investigator type journalistic article, in depth. You don't see these often these days, Pro, and I really respect journalists that actually are long for these. The old school journalists in the trench coats with the cigarette and the cigar back in the day, Pro.
Yeah.
They're the best because they'll stick on a story for 3 or 4 months and then do this long. They're the journalists that I really respect. I think a lot of journalists, not all, but a lot these days, are clickbaity and just going with the masses of what does our reader engage with, rather than actually putting together a piece that takes time and effort and research. And Matt Logue with the Daily Telegraph has put together a cracking piece around everything that happened. It is a subscriber-only article, so I know a lot of people can't read it, but if you can, just, subscribe for the day and then cancel your subscription. I don't know what you got to do, but you got to read this article. It goes through the whole timeline of pre and post that infamous closed-door scrimmage, and there were a few alarming things that I didn't even know that were noted in this, but I'll lead with that. The first thing that I want to lead with, which was very concerning, was noted by Matt Logue and actually quoted from Nigerian players, was a Nigerian player had revealed that Cambridge approached one of her teammates and told her, quote, Liz was telling her, "Oh my God, I wish I was playing for the Nigerian national team." So this is pre the scrimmage. This is pre going into the Olympic Village while she's wearing Australian colours. So, "I wish I was playing for the Nigerian national team. She was really complimenting us and saying that her Australian Opals team is racist." This was on the same day as a scrimmage. And then the Nigerian player finished the quote by saying it was something like a movie, very unrealistic. So that is alarming in itself. I know a lot of those girls on that team, and they're the furthest thing from racist, first and foremost. They've protected her numerous times. They've kept her name out of the mud when she probably should have been thrown in the mud numerous times. To actually go into an Olympic, this is a week before the Olympic Games, and say you'd rather play for another national team, Pro, that is almost as alarming as anything in this article. Because you're supposed to be going about for your team and your teammates. So that's the first thing I'll note that was in there that I kind of was like, oh shit. But here's the timeline. He broke it down pretty well for everyone out there. Cambridge, the videos linked in that article about how this all started, just absolutely king hit someone with an elbow in a rebounding contest. She was a bit frustrated with how physical the Nigerians were being. They're all half her size for the most part, quick, agile, in her a little bit. And anyway, a bit of a wrestle on the right side of the block. Someone shoots it. Liz moves to the middle of the paint to go for offensive rebound position and, getting battled by an opponent and just wallops her right in the temple. The Nigerian girl kind of stunned, dazed, confused for a bit. Apparently it was reported that Liz was steaming up until that point already. So the Australian Opals call a timeout. They calm her down. One of the Opals players said that they were surprised they didn't take Liz out of the game as well, which they didn't. Game gets called back on after the timeout. Nothing really happens. The referees don't see it. Whatever happens, something else happens. Liz then slaps another player in the face, open hands, and says something like, "Come on, it's just basketball. Like, what are we doing here?" I think the referees then, break it up, somewhat call a timeout, go to your benches kind of thing, and a Nigerian player, which you don't condone, at that point ran up to Liz from behind and punched her. Emotions flared, and that's when the comments came out. Liz went on a tirade. I've discussed numerous times. There were many comments made that you never want to make, but it's come out now, so I can quote it and basically calling the Nigerians monkeys, or something along the lines of control your monkeys. Told them to go back to their third world countries / shitholes. That's all in this article and confirmed by the Nigerian players. For all people out there that thought I was just, with my little rival Liz, I was throwing mud on her just cause, definitely not the case. This, I heard most of this firsthand from someone real close to the group, and I couldn't run with it on record and give their name out, obviously, because they had asked, please don't use my name, and please don't, just keep this to yourself for now. It'll all come out eventually, and it has, pro. So, people are saying, oh, do you feel vindicated? I don't feel vindicated because I told the truth from the start. I wouldn't have ran with this if it was bullshit. And it's just disappointing that someone, people ask, why do you bother? Why do you bother with Liz? Why do you bother with all this? Because I don't like hypocrites. I don't like people that, we're all hypocrites to an extent, but I think it's a big misdemeanor when you're the face of a cause of, everything's racist, and I'm strongly against racism and inequality, and that's cool. If that's what you want to do, cool. But if you're the face of it and then you make comments like that, I don't care what someone did to you. I don't condone the Nigerian player running up and hitting her from behind. But if you make those comments in a time of where you're seeing red, your true nature comes out in those times. And that's why I think it's important to discuss this. And from here on out, anything that Liz says about social justice or racism or sexism, I'm not even blinking at, because you're a hypocrite of the highest order in my eyes, pro. But this has all come out now, and it's all on record. I urge people to go and read that article, because I think it was a very, very well-written, well-researched piece by Matt Logue. I know for a fact he was digging into this for months, numerous phone calls, hours of talking to different people around basketball in Australia, basketball in Nigeria, and he finally got all confirmed, pro.
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention much to her before this podcast. We started this, and then you started mentioning her name a little bit. I work with Rike Gomowale from the Dallas Wings, Nigerian, and so I didn't pay attention to the league until I started working for her and working with her. And then you started talking about her more and more. And then you started hearing a little bit more. And she reminded me of like a DeMarcus Cousins of the WNBA. But to tell you the truth, I don't want to insult DeMarcus Cousins that much, because I think she's a despicable fucking human being. To be able to do that, she's always trouble. It's always something. Right. Like, I understand being a little bit a diva, if you're a star in your league or a star in your sport. I get it. Like, in the NBA, it's the same way. Every sport's sort of like the same way. But to do that and to say those unbelievably despicable words, to any race, anybody, I don't care if it's your own race or another race, is completely unacceptable to me. And I'm beside myself, and it's disgusting, and it's embarrassing. And, and everybody just keeps putting up with it. Everybody keeps putting up with her. And it's always, if it's not my teammates, it's my team. If it's not my team, it's, why is the Las Vegas coach getting paid this and we're getting paid this? It's always something, never happy for anybody else but herself. Completely selfish, completely just despicable. And, I just feel bad for the LA Sparks. They got to see her every day, because I wouldn't want to be around that any way, shape, or form. What she did to Nigeria is despicable. She's a complete hypocrite, talking about everyone else is a racist, but she could say those words. It's humiliating. I'd be disgusted to be around her or be associated with her in any way. And look, it is what it is. It's disgusting. So that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, hopefully that's it. Hopefully that's it from her. As far as making comments and being at protests and all that kind of stuff, just get on with your basketball career. And I mean, everyone loves someone that bounces back, but this is chance 9, 10, 11, 12. Reportedly, she did go and try and apologize to the Nigerians after that, I think the day after or something like that. And it was a pretty loose apology from all reports, so much so that the half of the Nigerian team turned their back on her as she was speaking. So take that for what it's worth. This has all come from noted sources. So it's all in that article. These are not my words. These are quoted in the article. So I urge everyone to read it. And the case is closed, I believe. There's not much more. She can put out an inspirational quote tweet like she did last time when these rumors came out about, the truth will come to light eventually. Well, it's very, very sunny today, Pro. So hopefully this is it from her. Get on with your basketball career and no more racist tirades by you, Liz. That especially when you're preaching it. All right, NBL free agency. Few notable signings, Pro. Todd Blanchfield, a guy in Perth, player in Perth. Solid shooter for them. He's re-signed with the Perth Wildcats for 3 years on what I've heard is a pretty big deal for him. So congratulations to that, getting that done. Harry Froling has returned to the Brisbane Bullets, where he was formerly before he went to Illawarra. Kyron Galloway has gone to the Adelaide 36ers. Anthony Drummond has gone back to the Adelaide 36ers. He was with the Brisbane Bullets. He used to be with the Adelaide 36ers pre the Brisbane Bullets. Will McDowell-White has re-signed with New Zealand. Kyle Zunic has re-signed with Perth Wildcats. Sean Bruce obviously re-signing with the Sydney Kings. Wani Swaka-Lobaluk, we touched on last week, has gone to the Illawarra Hawks down the highway. Mitch Creek has re-signed with the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Big re-signing for them. Brad Newley's re-signed with Melbourne United. Nick Marshall has re-signed with the LA 36ers. Angus Glover is staying in Sydney. We re-signed him. And Keanu Pinder has re-signed with the Cairns Taipans. So not a whole lot of movement. Yeah, it's been pretty quiet, Pro. Free agency's open, but there's a lot of players out there. We've got hopefully some announcements in the next week or two as well. So we're pretty excited about some things coming up. And it's been pretty quiet, pretty interesting. So not a whole lot going on as of yet, Pro. So we'll see how that all ramps up. Yeah,
I mean, I'm always intrigued by the signings off season by any international league, but it seems like those guys are pretty, it's pretty good signings for those teams in the league. It's good that they just keep on re-signing and just keep filtering through their talent and keep restocking the teams in that league, and it just makes it that much stronger, worldwide. So it'd be cool.
Yeah, and it's competitive. It's getting more and more competitive. More and more teams know they need to, lock their guys up earlier before teams get a chance to talk to them, and vice versa. There's a few interesting pieces out there that haven't been re-signed by their team, so we'll see how that goes. All right, stats useful or useless? Correction, Pro. We made a mistake. No, I don't know if it was a mistake. I did say it was the only player in NBA history, but there is one more player in NBA history, Pro, who had his name on the front and back of a jersey. Do you remember who it was last week?
Did you say Jerry West?
Yeah, there's one more though. Who do you think it'd be? Use your brain. I'll give you 10 seconds. But yeah, there's one more that people have sent me, so I appreciate that. And we will definitely, put our correction out there that there is one more in NBA history that has front and back.
Mario West?
No. Good choice there. David West. I don't know how to miss
fucking
that one.
Mario West too. Tell that guy to go fuck himself. Do his fucking homework. Mario West played for the Atlanta Hawks. So any player that's named West?
Was he All-Star?
Oh, my fault. He's not. I apologize. Hey, hold on. I'll go fuck myself. I apologize. I did not listen. So go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, no, David West All-Star team. So he made it when he was with the Pelicans, I believe. So I thought he was an All-Star with the Pacers. But anyway, that's the correction. All right, Action Network has released which players covered the most miles this season, Pro. There's a top 5 here. I don't know if you've looked at the notes, but give me a pick of who, do you know one name that would be in the top 5 for the most miles covered?
Most miles covered, if I had...
Total for the season.
Fuck. I don't know.
I would not have got any of these if you told me.
Dorian Finney-Smith? I have no idea.
No. So number 1 is Mikal Bridges in the league. 212 miles covered for the season. Number 2 is his brother, Miles, at 210. Miles at 210 miles. 3 was Tyrese Halliburton at 206. 4 was Tyrese Maxey at just under Halliburton at 206 point whatever. And Scotty Barnes was 5th at 201. So most miles covered end to end,
nice.
Which is kind of not really relevant to anything statistical, but interesting nonetheless. Useful or useless, bro?
I think it's useful just to know how much those guys are running and how hard they're working. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I guess it's useful to a certain degree.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's useful just knowing how much they move and get up and down the floor from end to end, but I don't think it's really changing too much. But you do know they leave it all out on the floor. The Warriors now have 12 playoff comeback wins after trailing by 15 plus under Steve Kerr. From SportsCenter. Useful or useless?
I think it's useful, but it's useless to tell me it's under Kerr. I just think them winning, 15, coming back from 15 down period, that many games, I think it's definitely useful. I mean, it means they have perseverance. They could sort of, get punched in the face, absorb the blow, and finish games. So I think it's pretty useful. What do you think?
Yeah, useful. Well, I think why they mentioned Kerr is because there wasn't a lot of playoff success
Yeah, no doubt.
For the last 30 years, 2 under Mark Jackson when I was there. Then there was the one We Believe year where they knocked out Dallas, and that was pretty much it since the early 90s. So, but yeah, I think it's useful. I think they're one of those teams that you just, when you're playing against the Warriors and you're up by 15 or 20, you just never know you just know it's never enough. You know there's going to be a run, and how can you sustain that run? You ever rarely see them completely get blown out. Although they did in that Memphis series, you ever rarely see that. But they're definitely one of those tough teams that you're never too safe. All right, playoff threes all time. So this isn't a top 5 or a top 10. These are just some names. All right, so Michael Jordan's got 148 threes in the playoffs.
Interesting.
Dirk has 149 pro. 151 made threes pro. Draymond Green.
Get the fuck out of here.
You would never have guessed, right? I was
going to say Steph.
Well, this isn't the top 3. This is just they're just 3 names.
3 names.
I just want to give two. Yeah. It's not the top 3. Not the top 3. But Draymond Green has more career 3-pointers in the playoffs, albeit he's been in the playoffs every year he's played. Than Michael Jordan and Dirk Nowitzki. And, he often gets a lot of shit because he doesn't shoot the ball that well from 3 and sometimes doesn't want to shoot it. But sometimes looks can be deceiving, bro. It's pretty impressive in my opinion. I think
that's a way bigger code broken than that fucking other code that they think he broke. That is the biggest code he broke right there. That 151, I would have never guessed it. Not from him.
Never have guessed it. Like if you would have told me he has more than those 2 guys, I never would have believed it, but he does. So, and like I said, it does help. I think MJ didn't make the playoffs a couple of seasons. He didn't make it his rookie year, and then he was in the first round a couple of seasons.
I don't think so too. Yeah.
And Draymond's been pretty deep for the last, however long. Besides the one bad season, they had, a season not to go. So, pretty interesting stat. All right, Drew Holiday is the first NBA player in 25 seasons pro to record a steal and a block shot in the last 10 seconds of a playoff game. Useful or useless?
Let me see. Yeah, I think it's fucking useless. I think it's pretty random, but that's just me.
Same, agree. Useless. That's SportsCenter for it. No, that's ESPN stats.
Shocker.
That's useless as cool. The last 10 seconds of a game, you got a steal and a block. First time in last 25 seasons. Great. Cool. Yeah. All right, this one's a gem. You'll love this one, pro. With the hiring of Darvin Ham, half of the 30 coaches in the NBA are black. With Miami Heat coach Eric Spoelstra being Asian, 16 of the NBA's head coaches are people of color. And this is all noted by our friend that did this stat. Charlotte still has an opening, so it could get higher. That's from Mark Spears, pro. Useful or useless?
I mean, not that I'm afraid of being canceled, but if I say it's useless, then people shit on me for being racist, right? Hey, look.
It is useless as fuck. Are we really counting people's skin colors as to coaching?
It's ridiculous, right? I mean,
dude,
yeah.
I saw this and I'm looking at it and I'm like, so every year you're going to go through and count the different skin colors as a head coach. Like, where does it end? What about assistant coaches? Then we're going to go to GM. I'm just like, man, this is.
Well, Mark Spears is the biggest race baiter in the history of media as far as for basketball. It's just everything right down your throat with race. Look, I'm glad that the NBA has given everybody an opportunity to work in their league, as far as men, women, white people, black people, Hispanic, Asian, all that. But if you just continuously if this is like a one-off article, hey, a statement, hey, this is interesting and okay, but like from him, everything's about race, and it just gets fucking boring, and it gets tired of it after a while. Look, I think it's pretty cool. Don't get me wrong, but look, the NBA in the NFL, the NBA, NFL's got their own issues with race and stuff, but NBA is most likely going to hire ex-players that coach in their league. Most of the players that's ever played the NBA, African American. So it doesn't really surprise me that half of the coaches at least are going to be people of color. Now, not all of those people played in the NBA. I get it. But I don't make a big thing about race with that stuff. If you hire a black person, great. You hire a white person, great. But like, if you just make it a point to like pound it, it give me a fucking break. It's just fucking headache.
Yeah, it's useless in my opinion. I think we're all human beings, man. At the end of the day, we're all from different. I'm from a different country. You could have a point, pro. The BMI of coaches is at an all-time low, isn't it? We're not seeing too many big bone coaches these days. So you could have a case to file some claims for discrimination.
The problem is, I would settle out of court for a case of Twinkies. So what the fuck what would happen with me? You know what I'm saying, brother? So hey, I'm for sale. No doubt about it. So Hostess is my fucking sponsor. So let's go forward with that.
Yeah, fair enough. But
it's crazy though.
But yeah, it is a crazy one. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. I don't even like the end of it saying Charlotte still have an opening. It's just like, what the fuck? But anyway, what you got? Fact or fake news?
All right, Bogues. So Darvin Ham gets hired by the Lakers. So the Lakers would be a better team under Ham than they were with Vogel.
Well, Vogel won a championship. So if we're just going upon last season,
I think they'll be
better than they were. Yeah. Look, I think they will be better than last season. How much better? I don't think the needle's going to move that much. I think there is some incentive for. I think there's a bit of a fire being lit under some of those guys. Just with this off season of they're still for some reason talked about every other day on SportsCenter. Shocker, but they are getting killed from pillar to post. So I think they will be better. But does better mean they're going to be have a decent playoff run? No, I think by better they should scrape into a playing game, like surely. But that roster's not great. But it is a young, driven, younger, driven, unproven NBA head coach. So I think there'll be some changes there. I think the narrative around LeBron being a coach killer when things don't go well is probably something that LeBron's going to have to work out as well and not make sure he happens again. And I like the fact that the Lakers did give him 4 years, so I think he's there to stay. So I think they will be better, but if you're a Laker fan, you're not going to be much better.
I'm going to say fake news on this one, Bogues. Look, I like Darvin Ham. I think he's going to be a very good coach. I do think that they're going to try to make moves in that roster. They don't have a lot of money to move. I've heard that they're going to try to get sign back Malik Monk. I think that they will try to make a move for Westbrook. I do, and try to move him. Now, see, if you move him, the problem here is this: nobody really wants Westbrook there. But if you move him, he does give you a certain amount of numbers that he puts up, and he gives you a certain amount of talent level. The problem is you're going to either trade him into a team's cap room and get very little to nothing back, or you're going to trade him for another couple of dead body contracts. Now, if, the only way that I think I'll get screwed on this deal by saying fake news is if they trade Westbrook to Indiana and then they take back, Buddy Hield, and another contract. I think that will make them a little better with their shooting, and they could be a little better. I think they're going to have the same problems. I think most of that roster is unmovable, and I don't think there's a lot of pieces that they can go. Yeah, they'll be rejuvenated. They'll probably play well early in the year, but I think they're going to have the same problems. Lack of shooting. Everybody's got to have the ball in their hand. There's not really a lot of off-the-ball players. I think with the moves that they can make are going to be very minimal unless you can make that deal. If you get maybe Malcolm Brogdon and Buddy Hield, just to get, Indiana could reshape their roster quicker and just like stretch out Westbrook and, what have you. Maybe that works for them, but I don't think they're going to be much better, Bogues. I don't. I just think that they've got what they got, and I don't think there are a lot of role players that could really help them, that they could acquire. So that's what I'm just going to go forward with saying. I think they're going to be maybe as good, probably worse, to be honest with you.
They were 11th this season in 33-49, and they just missed out on the 10th spot, which the Spurs snatched on them late. So I think they're going to scrape in the 10 next season. Pro, I'm optimistic. I'm long Lakers.
You're long Lakers. Got it. All right. Second question, Bogues. The Portland Trailblazers will be a top 8 team in the NBA in the Western Conference next year. The 27
Fake
and
news.
50. What was the 27 and 55? Portland Trailblazers. I think that was the record.
Yep. 27. Nah, fake news. I mean, I'm looking at the West right now. Suns are in, Grizzlies are in, Warriors are in, Mavericks are in, Jazz more than likely are in, Nuggets are in, Timberwolves should be there somewhere, Pelicans, and that's your 8. And then you've got, so they're basically competing with the Clippers, the Spurs, the Lakers, the Kings. So maybe the Kings, they can jump, maybe the Spurs and Lakers. I don't have them jumping the Pelicans or the Clippers. So I think a better question would be in the 10. Can they make the 10? That one's a tough one. The 8 definitely not.
Hey, Bogues, everybody's a fucking critic. Now you want to take over fake and fact news, you asshole.
I wasn't having a crack at you. I was just a topic of conversation.
Yeah, Bogues, I agree. I agree with that question, but I agree that I disagree that fake news. They will not be in the top 8. I mean, look at the fucking starting 5 next year. All right, Damian Lillard, Anthony Simmons, Josh Hart, Justice Winslow, and Nurkic, if they could re-sign him. Coming off the bench, Eubanks, Ingles is a free agent, Nasser Little, Ben McLemore, Eric Bledsoe. I mean, they just don't have anything. Now, I did hear this today. I think they have like the 7th pick. I did hear that they were going to try to package something together where they're going to trade their pick and some contracts, maybe some cap room, but probably contracts to the Detroit Pistons for Jeremy Grant. Now, I did hear that in the last 48 hours that they're trying to progress going that way to try to get, to bring in a little more talent, and all they have to really shell out is their 7th pick in the draft or 8th pick in the draft, wherever they're drafting. So, I mean, if I'm Detroit, I'm doing that in a heartbeat because you want to get off Grant's contract. And look, you want to get off Grant's contract and then you get another top 10 pick. They're going to have one of the top picks in the draft, come June. Now you get another pick in the top 10. Totally makes sense for both teams. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. You know how this NBA stuff happens. You hear one rumor and, it could be dead in 24 hours. So, I don't think they have enough talent, Bogues. I don't. And, they just don't have it. They just don't have it. Even with Lillard, if he's going to come back 100% healthy, and that's to say he'll come back without, wanting a trade demand in early in the season. So let's just say he plays the whole year. I just don't see him elevating that roster. No offense to him. I don't think he elevates that roster to the point where they could get in the top 8. Top 8's a tough fucking neighborhood to be in, especially if you're coming from behind like they are. I mean, they don't really have a lot of talent on the team outside of Lillard. I mean, they got a couple of pieces here and there, but they really don't have much of a leg to stand on.
Agree.
All right, Bogues, let's get the last one. All right, let's just hypothetical, Bogues, right? Orlando Magic, who has the number 1 pick in the draft in this coming June. If you're the Orlando Magic, you should offer number 1 pick and make the decision to draft Bronny James in the future, which obviously is an behind the doors site type deal, to get LeBron James, to retain LeBron James. So if you're the Lakers, you get the number 1 pick in the draft, and whatever else player salary that they have to do to make the deal work. And I don't even know if they can do it. So they trade you that package, number 1 pick and some players for the rights to get LeBron James. If you're the Orlando Magic, do you offer that deal?
So LeBron goes there this season, and then obviously they have to draft Bronny.
Yeah, like they already say, look, LeBron, like on the before the trade's even made, hey, look, we're going to do this for you. We're going to keep you here to have him. So the question is not, do you agree with the deal or not? If you're the Orlando Magic, you do the deal. Number 1 pick, you give up the number 1 pick right now for LeBron James.
That's a tough one because I mean they have a young roster, right? But it's really not that good of a young roster, is it?
No, it's definitely developing. Yeah, it's definitely developing.
But I'm saying they don't have a standout.
Folks, here's the deal. Okay, starting 5: Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, their rookie from this past year, Franz Wagner, average about 15 and 5, Jonathan Isaac, that hasn't played in a couple of years because of injury, and Wendell Carter. Coming off the bench, our favorite, Mo Bamba, Chuma Okeke, who is a young kid, Terrence Ross, who I think is a free agent, if I'm not mistaken, Gary Harris, I think he's a free agent, Markelle Fultz hasn't really played, and then they don't really have anybody considerable, like on their third. They got like Robin Lopez, which I think will be a free agent, Mo Wagner, not much of a, okay player, not bad, and RJ Hampton. Those are sort of the top 12 players or so. So do you trade now, like salary? Let's just sort of put it together. They'll need to come up with roughly $40 million. So I guess realistically, you'd have to trade them Markelle Fultz just to make the deal work. Let's see, they got about 20, 40, 60. They
re-sign Mo Bamba for a big deal.
Yeah, right. They might be able to bring him in cap room, but say they have to trade Jonathan Isaacs or Markelle Fultz to get the deal done. So you'll basically be pairing LeBron James with, Cole Anthony and a couple of other young players. So that's basically what you're looking at.
Suggs, yeah. I like Suggs. I think he's going to be a player. I just don't think Orlando has that young roster that's going to be something in the future yet. So I'll do it. I'll go fact. I'll do it. I'd bring LeBron there. Have him bring some life into that Orlando Magic franchise that hasn't won a lot of games lately. You're locking his son, yeah, whatever. I mean, the marketing of it will help, I think. But if this was OKC, I would say no, because I think they've got a lot of young pieces that are developing and they're going to be something good in the future. Orlando, I'm not sold on. I know they've got a young roster like Suggs, but other than that, I don't really know what this roster is and where it's going. I think it's a very, 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 very poor roster in my opinion. So I would do it just based on that. Give LeBron a year or two there. Orlando, he can visit Disney World. His son can get drafted by him. Why not? Why not, bro? What do you got?
It's funny. You sort of changed my mind a little bit, Bogues. I was going to say fake news in a heartbeat because, look, number 1 pick has a lot of value, even though there's no real clear-cut number 1. There's about three and a half players up top that they'll probably consider for that number 1 pick that are really good players. And I was going to say, no, why not? But you're right. You look at the roster, it's not very good. I mean, Cole Anthony is decent. Don't get me wrong. Could be a top 20 point guard in the NBA. Closer to 20, a lot closer to 20 than he is at 1. And then you get Suggs, who's just okay, in my opinion. He's a decent player. And then, I don't know about Jonathan Isaacs because of his health. Markelle Fultz is just an average player, in my opinion. Terrence Ross, okay. Mo Bamba, okay. Wendell Carter, good guy, decent player. Fuck that. I'll swing for the fences and get LeBron. I wasn't going to do it at first, but now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I'll swing for the fences for sure. I'll make the deal.
Yeah, and as I said, if this was OKC, if it was just a team that had young prospects that were building into something and need a play, I'd be like, probably not, You know what I mean? But I just don't see anyone on that Orlando roster that you're like, this is our 3 or 4 young guys that we're developing with and going to be the core in the next 5 to 10 years. They don't have that. So that's the only reason I'd consider doing it. So good job, bro.
Bogues, we fooled them again, brother.
Fools and horses. All right. That is episode 67. Appreciate everybody sending me shit in when I get it wrong. When we get it wrong, we love to hear it. Don't forget we've got our fan of the Boston Celtics that tweets me abuse all the time. Pro has picked Miami, so at him and get on him He has tipped Miami. I've tipped Boston. I could be wrong, but you've got 24 hours till the game tomorrow to put some tweets out there. So we appreciate everyone supporting the podcast. Keep it coming. And Pro, I'm in the works of our first sponsor. So having a bit of a chat about that, and hopefully we'll be up in the next couple of weeks.
Bogues, seriously, I mean, I need some money coming in here, brother. It's been a couple of years. Hopefully we get. I mean, is it going to be Hostess? I'm not going to get money, but I'm going to get product. I need something. And don't.
Hey, if someone from Hostess is listening, we can do it.
Don't tell me this don't give me this athletic company or athletic greens or something like that. I need something like that with cholesterol.
Spinach milkshakes.
That. I need Shamrock shakes from McDonald's. I don't need need health.
We'll see. Well, the reason why I don't pay you is because it'll just go on food to a bad diet. So I'm actually doing you a favor.
You know what, Bogues? You're right. And plus, if I need to run from the FBI, I guarantee you there's at least 500 families in Australia that will take me in now. I do think I do have a lot of popularity in Australia. Every Australian that comes up to me and talks to me in America says, you're a fucking hit in Australia. And you know what? I believe that. I believe that. I do believe. I think I love my Italian heritage, but if I wasn't going to be Italian, I'd pick Australian in a heartbeat.
Oh, we love it, bro. We love it. I'm sure everyone will appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it.
Just don't do a Liz Cambage.
No, that's what I'm saying. Australia right now is calling Italy and having a trade for Liz Cambage and a player to be named later. They are disassociating her from Australian people. I'm not going to leave the Italians though.
No, food's too good. All right, that's it. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Later, guys.